I am speaking with JoAnn Pushkin, Executive Director of Densebreast-info.org. JoAnn, thank you so much for taking a few minutes for me. Really do appreciate your time.
I certainly appreciate joining you.
No worries at all. And we're glad to do it because we're talking about something today that is very, very important and near and dear to my heart, and I know so many others as well, and that is cancer and specifically breast cancer as well. Talk about, first of all, Densebreast-info.org. If our listeners have not necessarily heard of the organization, what is it that you all focus on?
Densebreast-info.org is an educational website about specifically dense breasts. It's the world's leading website on the topic, and it was developed for both patients and their doctors so that everyone involved in that woman's mammogram understands the implications of a woman's breast density.
Very good. And so talk about that subject. I don't think it's something that we, obviously, and this is, I'm sure, one of the reasons why you are involved in this endeavor here. I don't think it's something that we hear a lot about, specifically breast density. We're talking about the importance of mammograms a lot, but not necessarily how breast density relates to that.
So the first thing to know is that dense breasts are normal and common, and about 40% of women getting mammograms actually have dense breasts. So the term dense breast refers to the type of tissue that a woman has in her breast. And so if they're normal and common, why are we talking about them at all? Dense breasts can hide cancer on a mammogram. And that's because dense tissue shows up white on a mammogram, but unfortunately, so does cancer. So a cancer within dense tissue on the mammogram is nearly impossible to find. It's like trying to find a snowball in a blizzard. And in fact, in the densest breasts, in the women with the densest breasts, a mammogram will miss about half of cancers present, half. And in addition, dense breasts also increase the risk of developing breast cancer. So dense breasts both hide cancer on a mammogram and increase the risk that a woman will get breast cancer. So a real double whammy for women with dense breasts. To actually see mammogram images and just how a cancer can hide in them, please visit the Densebreast-info.org website because we have a great animated image right on the homepage.
Yeah, wow, that's fascinating and I'm sure scary for a lot of women who have dense breasts. And how does someone know if they do have dense breasts? And is it a challenge to sort of find out? I mean, is a mammogram perhaps the first time that someone discovers that they have dense breasts?
Your breast density is rated on your mammogram into one of four categories. So normally when a woman has her mammogram, the radiologist will rate it and include it in the report, usually that they send to her provider. In addition, women get what's known as the lay letter, a letter after their mammogram with the results of that mammogram. But it has not been a requirement that they be told that they have dense breasts. Or if they're told they have dense breasts, it's not explained to them why it matters. So my own cancer was missed an estimated 5 years in a row on a mammogram. I finally detected in a self-exam when it's now so large enough that I can feel it. And of course, when that happens, I call my doctor and was sent for a diagnostic mammo and ultrasound. And on the same day that it was large enough for me to feel, it doesn't show up on a mammogram, but there it is on the ultrasound. But of course, by that time, it was no longer early stage. But when I asked, well, why didn't this cancer show on my mammogram? I was told that because my breasts were extremely dense, finding cancer in them on a mammogram would be, quote, a very, very hard find. So I learned I had breast cancer and that it was missed year after year on a mammogram because of my dense breasts, all within 20 minutes of each other. So I was just incredulous that this information had not been shared with me all the years I had been going for mammograms. I mean, certainly women with dense breasts should be informed of the realistic limitations of the mammogram and the dense breast. So I fought for a density informed law in my state. I live in New York. That requires that women with dense breasts, after their mammogram, be told four things: that they have dense breasts, that it can increase the risk of developing breast cancer, that it can hide breast cancer, and that additional screening after mammogram should be discussed and considered with their health provider. And unfortunately, what's unique about my story is that it's not unique at all. And women across the country have been fighting for laws that they be notified about dense breasts after their mammograms. The good news is there are now 38 states and the District of Columbia that have some level of required dense breast notification for women. But the state laws are inconsistent, and some provide much more information than others. There are still some states that don't have a requirement. So right now we're waiting for the FDA to establish a dense breast reporting standard across the country so that all women, no matter where they live, are told the same level of information about their dense tissue after their mammogram. You should know Georgia's own Inform Law, Margie's Law, which was named after tireless patient advocate Margie Singleton, went into effect in July of 2019, and January 1st of 2023, an expanded insurance law for breast imaging also went into effect in Georgia. Women can learn, no matter what state they live in, women can learn what the reporting requirement is in their state by visiting the map on Densebreast-info.org in the legislative section. We also explain which states have insurance laws for breast imaging beyond mammograms.
Wow, very good. And so, speaking about legislation there was this bill, this bipartisan bill actually introduced by a couple of different representatives called the Find It Early Act. Talk about that and how it could help in this endeavor to, spread the word and increase those reporting requirements for women with dense breasts.
Yeah, very exciting development. So the Find It Early Act is a federal insurance bill, and as you mentioned, introduced by Reps Rosa DeLauro and Brian Fitzpatrick from both sides of the aisle. And that bill will ensure that all health insurance plans cover screening and diagnostic breast imaging with no cost for women who have dense breast or are at higher risk. So this expanded access to breast screening should lead to cancers being caught at an earlier stage. And that is so important because when breast cancer is found really matters. A cancer found at an early stage has a 5-year survival rate of 99%. I mean, isn't that a beautiful thing to hear? But a cancer found at a later stage, when the cancer may have begun to spread to other parts of the body, can mean a 5-year survival rate of under 30%. So, of course, finding it early matters because that's when cancer is the most treatable and survivable.
Yeah, absolutely true. And that, of course, as we were chatting just before we went on the air here, we found out that with my mother-in-law a few years ago, and the importance of finding it early. And so this Find It Early Act, hopefully Congress can get its act together and get this legislation passed there. Well, just about out of time here, JoAnn, but anything else that you wanted to touch on before we have to run?
No, I would just remind everyone to please visit the website to get smart about being dense, and please go to Densebreast-info.org to learn much more. And also that there's lots of misinformation on the internet, and I always like to remind women to get medical information from reputable medical resources. That's so important.
Yeah, absolutely so. And as we've discovered that over the past couple of years on a large scale with COVID-19, it's been there for other diseases and illnesses as well. Well, JoAnn Pushkin is Executive Director of Densebreast-info.org. JoAnn, thank you so much for taking a few minutes for me. Really do appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.